Hey guys, this is Elfmo Day 2 Embroidered Felt Sweater Ornaments, which was anthropology inspired. First you'll need a sweater template. Print out your template and cut it out. I use felt in the color Antique White. Cut out your sweater shape on felt using the template. You'll need 2 pieces per ornament. You also need embroidery floss. I used 2 different colors per ornament. I made a sweater using pink and yellow embroidery floss, another sweater using yellow and green, and another sweater using green and blue. Knot the end of the embroidery floss. Starting from the back of the sweater, I made a running stitch near the top of the sleeves. To do this, bring your embroidery floss back and forth, creating dashes. Double knot the end and cut the extra embroidery floss. I folded the sweater in half to figure out where my lines needed to be in order to look symmetrical. I made a running stitch near the collar area. And I made another one below it. Then I went back to fill in the gaps, creating a solid line. I did the same thing near the bottom of the sweater. I also made a running stitch near the cuffs. Using another color, I added vertical dash lines at the bottom of the sweater. Then I added X's to the collar. I also added X's to the cuffs and elbows. Next, I decided to add trees in the middle section of the sweater. Starting at the center, Make a running stitch going up. When you reach the top, make an arrow and return to the stitch that you started from. Move one stitch down and make another arrow. Continue doing this until you form a tree. Then I made 2 smaller trees. Repeat this with the other felt sweater piece. Next, align the 2 pieces with the designs facing out. I sewed them together using a blanket stitch. To make a blanket stitch, double knot the end of the embroidery floss and place it between the 2 pieces of felt. Bring your needle up through one of the felt pieces. Wrap over the edge at a diagonal, which creates an overhand stitch, and go through both pieces of felt. Go under the previous stitch before making another overhand stitch. Repeat this until you reach the top center. Then make a loop with a piece of cord. I use this cord for a lot of my other ornaments, so I wanted to keep it consistent. Place a knot of the loop between the 2 pieces of felt, and continue the blanket stitch. Tug the loop and make sure that it's secure. Next, I added a little bit of polyfiber fill before closing the opening. Then I made more sweaters. And here's how they turned out.